Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
Sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, so stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening, and with me, as always, is Brian and Hanno. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
What was that moving over your shoulder, Jen?
I don't know.
Is that your chair?
Oh, yeah. That would be my chair.
Maybe it's a spooky ghost.
Brian and I are going to speak like this for the duration of the episode.
We have now merged with NPR, it sounds like. The soft and soothing tones.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Eli.
Oh, my goodness.
No, sillies. Not happening. Well, with that fun startup, all right, who's going to go first? Who's going to tell me about their week?
Not it.
Not it. Mine was extremely boring.
Sweet.
How's that?
Well, why don't we start with your extremely boring, which I'm sure was not extremely boring. You just think it is. So why don't you start, Mr. Hanno?
Yeah, I had a great week. We recorded on Monday, right? Yeah, Monday of last week. Mm-hmm. And I was like, cool. You know, I almost didn't record because of the gig coming up, but I'm like, I should really practice. And this was my really fun, a great gratitude moment for me was we recorded, and as always, Brian and I gab for however long it is afterwards, sometimes hours.
6 or 7 years.
And I realized something like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And when I got done, I was like, wow, that's one of my best friends right there. and it felt so good.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like one of those, like, just like a moment where it's like, oh yeah, that's why I do this that's why I love to do this.
Hannah loves Brian. Oh, sorry.
You and me.
Awesome.
Serenade each other. But it was just it was a neat feeling to have that kind of when I guess it's truly being in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So many times when we go out and do things with our friends or family or that kind of stuff, I'll speak for myself. Sometimes I don't really get to have that moment of acceptance of where I'm at, what I'm doing, and why I'm doing it. Like almost like a sense of purpose. And when I do have those moments, I really recognize. I like that. I'll hold on to them, I guess, when I recognize something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really great. And then the next night, I was like, okay, I'm going to practice. I'm like, oh shoot, I'm supposed to have dinner with Bill and Martha. Okay.
Take the guitar with you.
I know. But they're my old neighbors from back in Marin, and they also have they had, and this is where I was very, very nobody knows who they are, so it's okay if I talk a little bit about them. But it was this they both had like over 30 years of sobriety, both of them, and because of back issues, Bill was taking a lot of medications, and he came to a conclusion after talking to somebody. He got into meditation, which I think was just awesome. And he was talking to someone like just some sort of a counselor, whatever it was, whoever it was, and they were just talking about his medication use, and he kind of came to the conclusion that no, I haven't been sober, and so he started over.
Oh wow!
And I've heard that many times. Usually, most often times I hear it in the rooms is because of medications. That somebody has a surgery or something like that, and they realize the painkillers that they were no longer taking them for pain. They had basically slipped, and even though it has nothing to do with drinking, they'll start their sobriety date over. And I always think it's very brave. There's no shame in it. I have never seen anybody go, like be shocked. Everyone has always said, wow, that's, I think it's an inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I love the fact that every time they come up here about every other year to do some fishing and, play some golf and we always get together, go out and have dinner. And I love talking to them because I'm talking to people that are on the same path that I am, which is about, making the most out of every day and trying to be honest with them, themselves and other people around them and that kind of thing. So that was really awesome. And then
hold on real quick. I gotta say, I love the fact that people are willing to do that. They will look at that and go, like you said, 30 years and just go, you know what? I haven't been honest with myself. And I'm starting over, because I think that kind of shows, like you said, there's bravery there, and it also, I think, shows some confidence in your resolve a little bit that, you're willing to throw that away and start again because you feel that you can do it, rather than just looking for I'm 30 years sober, drinking, like you're not. Yeah. And I don't mean to minimize anybody who does do that, but there is something refreshing about, taking accountability. Really, that's
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so not good even, on them. It's not even really, at that point, it's not, I don't even consider it throwing it away.
Right.
Because it's not like, it's interesting because it's like they didn't go out and drink. Mm-hmm. They still have that.
Yeah.
But they sit there and I think it's that ultimate realization for people that even though they might not be actively involved in a 12-step program, but if they're taking on the concepts of day at a time and all that, they've come to terms with the fact that all we have is one day at a time.
Yeah.
And somebody corrected me on that one time. I was talking to somebody about lengths of sobriety and a guy that's been around for a while said, the last time I checked, the world record for sobriety was 24 hours.
That's a good way of thinking about it, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the longer your streak is, I'm sure for some people it puts an immense amount of pressure on you. You know, others it may not, but I could see where it would. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting close to a year, but maybe you get tempted or something, you know, and it's like, no, I have to for, you know, the streak, basically. And I think eventually, like you said, from what I've noticed from what you said, it sounds like, you know, over the time, you realize that it's not about a streak, or, you know, and even if you broke it, like with him saying that, you know, hey, I haven't been sober, he's still got the better part of 30 years. You know, that's a heck of a run, you know.
Yeah, he still hasn't taken a drink.
Yeah, that's a hell of a run for sure, you know. It's, you know, I mean, I haven't gone 30 years without a drink, so, you know.
That's the thing that most people, by the time that they've achieved like 10 years in sobriety or in any sort of program, it's typically the longest most people have done anything.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a marriage or a job, but for the most part, you know, people that have a problem with alcohol or drugs or whatever generally didn't put many years in a row in anything, even marriages and jobs.
Yeah, true, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of neat, but it's like I think one other significant part was listening to Bill talk about going out. There's a place out in where I grew up in Marin County called Spirit Rock, and it's become a world famous meditation center. And Bill was going out there, and I wish here's this former San Francisco firefighter going out and going to regular meditations out, you know. And I was like, that's what, to me, that's what well-being and self, you know, this kind of the path that I know I'm on with people. What happens is people find themselves doing things they never thought they would do, and they frankly don't care what anybody thinks.
Yeah, I was going to say, and not just doing it, but doing it in public also.
Yeah,
you know, because for a lot of guys, doing meditation is a massive step. You know, because you know, sissies do that or whatever. You know, and you know, now it's becoming more and more accepted and stuff, and people are seeing these benefits from it. But like that's a whole different story. A lot of people still wouldn't want to go somewhere that's a public place or something, you know, and
we'll do it in a group.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of people do it on their own. If you say, "Hey, do you want to go on a retreat?" Oh, you mean meditate with other people?
Yeah.
For how many days?
Yeah. Right.
So it was really neat because I got to share these again. Here we're sharing stories that we found something else in common. I was telling him about meditation retreats I'd been on,
nice.
And and he was going on one soon, and it was a neat experience. You know, that it's still like it's another reminder. It's like, oh yeah, you're on the right path.
Yeah,
you know, keep doing what you're doing, kind of a thing. And then Friday had the gig with a new band, and it went really well. It was a great show. I actually posted if you go onto my Facebook page, there's a video posted of a short clip of us playing, and it sounded good. It felt good. We had a great crowd. And speaking of drinking, I forgot, I haven't done a late night gig in a while, and I forgot how awesome a drunk crowd is. 11 o'clock is just right.
Right.
You know, everyone's got a good buzz on, and they'll sing along.
Right.
Yeah, and I ended up then driving. I literally got done with the gig. I'm like, sorry guys, I got to pack up real fast. I'm not meaning to be rude, but I am driving to Idaho Falls. It's 2.5 hour drive, and I'll be getting there at 2 a.m. But it was just such a great gig. I was just, I'm not falling asleep. We ended on a total just ripping tune, and I was like, yes. So
yeah,
but
awesome.
Had a fun weekend, and got back to work, and it was weird today at work. Actually, just I've gotten to this point with my boss where, I was always, I've shared lots of stories about what's happened at my work, and today it's been feeling like this more and more and more. He's really changed a lot, and it's really great. But I literally felt like I could do what I wanted to do, and I didn't have to worry, and I didn't have to worry if it was if he approves or if there's any, doubt. It was like I felt like I got to be me and do what I'm best at, and not worry about whether somebody was judging me for what I was doing. Mm. And it really felt great. It just felt liberating because it's what I like to do. I like to. like listening to you and Tony on Salty Language and hearing him at the restaurant and basically stepping up and saying, hey, whatever you need me to do.
Yeah.
That's how I like to be at work. If somebody comes up to me and says, hey, can you help me with this? I want to say, yeah. And, but I do want to take into consideration the fact that you're in a working structure where there's a hierarchy and, somebody may think that you should prioritize one thing or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm kind of a utility guy. I have a lot of experience. It's one reason I like my job. It's different every day.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert in any field, but I know enough about many of them that I could be useful in a lot of ways, and I like to do that stuff. I feel like I'm being most service to my coworkers if I get to do that. And I just had a great day today doing that, and I felt like it just again, it was just a nice moment of gratitude where I'm like, yeah, this is I like my work. I love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I feel like I'm being allowed to bring my strengths to the table, which I didn't feel for years that I was allowed to do that, so to speak, and that's never a good feeling. So
right,
yeah. That's my boring week.
It's not too boring to me. That sounds pretty awesome. I would take one of those weeks. I think that's pretty darn cool.
Mm. Yeah, it's not a bad week at all. Yeah. Well, like we've said before, I think you and I were talking about this last week, weren't we? About how boring isn't always bad.
No, it's not.
I'll take a boring week that isn't bad over a bad week any day,
Hey, yeah, exactly. Who wants an exciting bad week?
Yeah, no,
boy,
thanks.
was it exciting.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I'll go next. My week's been pretty good, pretty solid. Nothing too crazy. I ended up going to the Renaissance Festival that we have up here. We go once a year, my husband and I, and just so happens that it coincided with our anniversary this year, which was cool. So I do dress up a little bit. I'm still working on getting a full costume together.
Corset?
I do have a corset.
Oops.
Crushed purple velvet corset.
Excellent.
I'm working on getting a skirt that I want to go with it. And the way the place is laid out, it's not the best place for boots, but I'm still kind of working on the right footwear because you have to walk around a lot and it's a lot of uneven ground.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have just the right footwear that you don't end up killing your feet and ankles.
Mm.
So.
I think what you should do is rock some like Velcro topped Reeboks or something, like some walking shoe,
Yep.
like the old person walking shoe, you need that's sold in two colors, three colors, white, black, or gray, basically, or a tan, something like that. Yeah.
Rack some orthopedics.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Real,
it's fun.
Real sexy
Yep.
orthopedics.
Yeah,
Yep.
Very
It's like,
sexy.
well, those offset the corset.
What? Wow! Did you see what the corset does to her? No, I was looking at those shoes.
Right?
Those were awesome.
That'd be great.
Hey! Eyes up here!
Yeah.
What? Why do you think I'm wearing this corset?
Right? People are like, can I get a picture with you? And they're crouching down.
But I do love, that is one thing I love the most about going, is the people are just stupid amazing. Just absolutely fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy standing in line in front of us in the beer line that had a tiara on and a fanny pack. And he was rocking it. And I wanted to tell him he looked amazing, but I withheld because I wanted to make sure that I didn't want to come across as being sarcastic because I was being absolutely truthful,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a feeling it could be construed wrong. So I'm like, nope, I will, for the one time in my life, I will hold back a compliment because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to,
Right.
I
have a question. Was the fanny pack just a random fanny pack, or was it one that was made to look like era appropriate?
Yeah,
it
leather.
was black with mesh, with white on top of the black.
Okay.
It was awesome. And then he had acid wash jeans on with the elastic band at the bottom.
Wow.
Yes.
I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but you sure rocking it? Are you sure you want to make that statement?
Yes. And
Because I question this.
here is why.
I have pictures of myself in this same outfit, and there was no rocking it.
It is all in the attitude, because
True.
he knew he looked amazing. And that's all that it took, is that he knew he looked amazing, and he was carrying it like he knew he was amazing.
Please tell me he had a mullet.
He did not, but he did have frosted tips.
Okay, well, okay.
He dreams of mullets. Come on.
He honestly was like doing an homage to oh my gosh, Michael. I can't think of his name.
Landon?
No, from the 80s and 90s.
Jackson?
He came out as being gay. Gosh, what's his name?
George Michael?
Yes, George Michael.
No,
Thank you
Michaels.
so much.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
He was completely like channeling George Michael.
Okay.
Be awesome if he had a Wham shirt on. Yeah.
He did not have a Wham shirt on, but he could. He could have very easily had a Wham shirt on, and I would have gone with it. Like, yes, absolutely makes sense. But there was people dressed up like in Dom clothes and with all leather and face masks, and I mean
Renaissance.
Yep.
Oh yes, everybody comes to this and they wear whatever costume they feel comfortable in. There are there's people that are steampunk.
Mm-hmm.
That
I get that.
Yeah, they do the steampunk thing. I think the leather was trying for steampunk and kind of got Dom on me, but I was going for steampunk, red Dom. But there's people in these little tiny costumes that shouldn't be wearing tiny costumes, but because they rock it so well, they know they're awesome in it, so it works. For some odd reason, it just works, and you're like, I don't have the confidence to wear it, but kudos to you for wearing it, because
that's the exact reason it works, is because of that.
Well, yeah, and it's definitely better than the faces of Walmart or
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, where people wear inappropriate stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it was amazing. And there's families there, there's kids there, there's and nobody cares. Everybody is just having a good time.
Well, you'll find that at pretty much anything like that kind of, like if you go to a Comic-Con, everybody is just being who they are or whatever. So it's no matter what it is, you take any genre and go to like their convention or gathering, and that's what's so awesome about most of them, is that they generally are very inclusive,
Yes. And I absolutely adore the atmosphere and the vibe. And we don't even really take in, there's all sorts of shows and different things that go on, and we don't take in the shows as much. We try to, but crowds get kind of big around them. Mm. I'm just happy walking around for 3-4 hours. I will gladly pay my $25 to get in, which is a little expensive, but I will gladly pay that money just to be in that atmosphere for 3 to 4 hours, because it's almost soul cleansing for me.
Yeah.
Just being in that amount of positivity and enjoyment, and just it's just amazing for me.
To give you a little perspective on the $25 being expensive, when we were in Chicago, C2E2 is $50 a day.
Woo!
Yeah. So
yeah, the reason I said it was expensive is, if you go to the fair, it's a festival. There are some buildings for sure, but they're small little buildings. There's porta potties. A lot of it's outdoors.
I cannot imagine the mess that porta potties create for people.
Yeah, they do a really nice job. It's keeping them very clean.
No, I just mean like the women wearing some of the stuff that they wear. It's like,
to get in
how the hell can they go to the bathroom? Yeah.
Right. It is, I can imagine people have a hard time with that.
Yeah,
but
race catheter, that's all I'm saying. But
it's pretty amazing. It obviously it ranks up there. For local places, it is pretty much one of my favorite places to be. My favorite city in the world is New Orleans because it gives me the same feelings. When I'm in New Orleans, I feel so free and just awesome when I'm down there. But this is my little slice of New Orleans, I guess, here. So I love it. And and like I said, my second anniversary with my husband, which I'm, thrilled about. Hey, everything's going good. And that's awesome. And it's interesting because where my head has been at, we talked a little while ago about, hypersexuality and some of that stuff that goes along with bipolar. And I can feel myself shifting again, which is not a bad thing. It's just part of the bipolar. It's, I have my mood swings. I mean, it's what happens. It's in the definition, right? I can feel myself shifting again. And so it's interesting. Some new friends and stuff I've made may find it a bit abrupt because they're not quite used to that. But, hopefully they will get it and understand. I did do a little tweet about it just to kind of give people heads up that I'm kind of shifting again. So where it goes next, we'll see. But, and how long this shift lasts, I don't know. I can't tell you. I wish I could. But we'll see how this kind of plays out. I don't know. It's just, it's weird because I almost sometimes feel like I have to apologize because the rules change so dramatically.
Yeah.
In friendships, friendship relationships and stuff. People, when I meet them, when I'm manic or when I'm hyper, when I meet them, during those times, and when they see me when I'm not hyper, it's it is very abrupt at times. And I feel bad because I don't mean to catch people off guard. And I definitely don't mean to come across as being rude or, really say the B word because I want to keep it clean. That's
Butthead.
Not me at all.
I'll say it. Butthead. Boobs. Yeah.
But, it just is. It's my reality. And it's part of being, if you're part of my inner circle, part of, who's going to be in my world, it's something that you'll grow accustomed to. And it just is, So it's a lot of that's internally is just coming to terms with that too. And kind of like what you said, Henno, a little bit about recognizing and appreciating those that are just there, that are in my life, that go through the ups and downs and are just present and being present in that and recognizing it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's where my week is. How about you, Brian? How are you?
Well, something I wanted to mention to you, Jen, was, you mentioned that you went, you mentioned me and Henno, that you went screen dark for, the time, And I don't know, have either of you guys messed with the screen time thing on the iPhone update?
No,
it'll give you a breakdown of like how many hours a day.
How many times you hit it,
and
really?
like how many times you pick your phone up through the day, and it'll tell you basically like it'll break down your like what you're on the most through the day, kind of a thing. So I found it kind of interesting looking at it because I'm not surprised. I pick my phone up a lot, and I'm on it a good amount of time. But I've seen people online to where they're trying to cut back by using that, and it's just like, it's just, yeah.
But it also breaks down how much how much battery is being used on specific apps.
Well, that was on there before, but yeah.
That's been on there for a while, but I found that the other day. I looked at it and was very amazed by how much my battery is used on specific apps.
Yeah. Yep. But, the screen time thing is is interesting. So, you should watch it. And if it doesn't show very, very high, then you can be like, hey, see, I'm not on it that much.
Exactly.
Or if it is high, maybe don't mention it. But, you know.
Wow, that's impressive.
Mm-hmm. To me, my favorite part of it is that it tells you the average pickups, you know, like the times the phone is picked up. And that's the number I think that will blow a lot of people away. Because, like, if I tell you you're on your phone 6 hours a day, most people will be like, oh, yeah, you know, and I'm always doing the, you know. But if it's like, yeah, you picked up your phone 75 times today, like, no, you know. Like, yeah, I think the other day I picked mine up like 66 or something like that through the day. So, yeah.
I'm at 69, about 3 per hour, which I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. In settings.
I wonder what average is.
You know, yeah, it's right in when settings. It's right in one of the first categories. But what I like is at least like for the almost 9 hours that it registered my phone being active, it was 6.5 hours of productivity.
Yeah, that is something that I did like too. Was like mine. I actually noticed there was a good amount of productivity also. So.
Like, I literally have an hour of social networking, so that's not bad at all.
I have way more than that, but...
What's it called?
It's called screen time, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Screen time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right in settings. It's like it's in the second block of choices down.
See, I don't have it.
Did you not...
you haven't updated yet, then.
That's why. You should update so you can get that. So
downtime, scheduling time away from your screen. Actually, it's kind of cool because it says only apps that you choose to allow and phone calls will be available.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny because instead of that being seen as like a downtime thing, I could see that where you could really up your productivity that way. Because there's some people, Tim Ferriss talks about this a lot, about how some people will be, like, they check their emails all day long, right?
Yeah.
And he just does it like in like 2 blocks. I think he does it in the morning and then at night, and that's it. The rest of the day he doesn't look at his emails, you know. So I could see where you could use that potentially to block off time so that you don't get notifications from whatever email or Facebook or whatever, you know, to really, so you can really focus on what you should be doing.
That's neat.
Yeah. Anyway, so my week has been fairly boring, but I went back to the neurologist today for a follow-up on my EEG finally. That came back, he said everything came back great on that. He said the blood work he ordered, everything came back really good. So he's, you know, really happy about those things. He still really would like me to have an MRI done. And so he gave me a prescription for Valium to take. I don't know. I'm going to really think it through, though, first, because it caused me such awful, you know, such an awful couple days, you know. And I've never taken Valium, so I don't know where to gauge where I'll be at, you know. But anyway, but you know, I was pretty happy with that, and I love the fact that he didn't, you know, it wasn't like dip in, dip out. You know, he sat down, talked to me for about 10 minutes actually, and then left. You know, and that was, I always like that because it's just so many doctor's appointments now. It's like I feel like you get 5 minutes, maybe, you know, and then they're out the door. And you know, like with him, he even was like, you know, sitting there and he's like, "Any other questions?" Nope, I'm good. Okay, you know. So you know, that was kind of stunk. I had to get up at, you know, 9 this morning to go up to, you know, to go up there for it for only like 10-15 minutes, but you know, it's, what are you going to do? You know, it's what the insurance dictates. I don't have a choice. Well, I do. I could just not go, but you know, it's, I'm not seeing that as an option. So, you know, so that was, all right. He gave me another medicine, hopefully that'll, to try to prevent my migraines. So hopefully, this one's better than the last one. The last one, just the nausea was so bad I couldn't get past it. So when I told him that, he goes, "Yeah," he's like, "That's pretty common." So okay.
Why
I know.
Do you prescribe that to people? It sounds terrible.
Well, he said some people in about a week start getting to where it doesn't bother them.
Okay.
Yeah. Or it goes away basically. It did not for me. It was so bad.
It's horrible.
Yeah, like every day I felt like I was going to get sick all day, and it's like, no thanks.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's that, and I'm trying to think of what else I've done. I haven't done a whole lot. Yeah, I think that's about all I've done, really. I mean, other than, me and Jen had lunch the other day. That was nice to get out of the house and avoid some drama. And
it's always fun reconnecting with friends and stuff.
Yep. And that's, I was trying to think if I've done anything else, but I can't really think of anything since Monday that I've really done. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess then we will move on to our topic of the week, which I believe, Henno, you have, correct?
Yes, I do.
Woohoo!
Direct from Psychology Today. We have the fine 5 mindsets that make it impossible to be happy.
Nice.
Yeah, and I like it. Starts with a one-liner that says, "Happiness is less about circumstances and more about mindset." And this is brought to us by Amy Morin. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. Morin is a licensed clinical social worker, psychotherapist, and the author of 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. Which I kind of want to read that now.
Yeah, I like that she went that way because all the columns and stuff are always like, here's the thing mentally strong people do,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So she starts with, as a therapist, I often work with people who are struggling to deal with tragic circumstances or traumatic events, but I've also worked with many individuals who struggle to feel good even when good things happen to them. For one reason or another, they just couldn't allow themselves to be happy. Whether they couldn't celebrate a promotion or their good fortune created more anxiety, they couldn't accept joy. Boy, that was a terrible read there. Whether they couldn't celebrate a promotion or their good fortune created more anxiety, they couldn't accept. Is that? Never mind. Moving on. And often they ask questions like, why can't I just be happy now that I got what I wanted? That's really good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It wasn't their situations making them unhappy. It was their mindsets. I've discovered there are 5 common beliefs that cause people to feel bad even when good things happen. And number 1, whenever something good happens, something bad follows.
Oh, we've heard that one quite a lot. I think we've all been there.
Mm-hmm. I'm very guilty of that one.
There's so many sayings about it, when's the other shoe going to fall?
Yep. That's
everything,
one of the examples.
Everything comes in threes.
Yep.
It's part of our culture to almost think that way.
Yep.
Second guess and to question.
Waiting for something bad to happen is anxiety-provoking, yet many individuals fully expect something is going to rob them of their good fortune at any given sentence.
Yep.
Second. Whew, my brain.
It's the Bundy curse.
Yeah.
Whenever you start accumulating good luck, you start equally accumulating that much or more bad luck.
That's right.
So what would you do to get yourself out of that?
What I do is when I feel, I try very hard to do a lot of brain exercises throughout the day and, especially at night before I go to bed, a lot of mental exercises. And one of the ones that I do, and I've talked about it on the podcast, I don't think I've done it in a while, but is the film reel, which is an old-fashioned piece of film and I take whatever's going through my mind, all the negativity and all of the bad thoughts, the bad vibes and stuff, and I picture it being on this film reel going through my head. And then I take my imaginary scissors and I cut it up and I blow it away. And every time my brain starts going to the, oh my God, what's going to happen next? I can't be happy. I can't get too happy because, something's going to take my feet out from under me. All of that stuff, I just put it on that film reel, cut it up, and blow it away. I just keep doing that exercise over and over again, and it retrains my brain how to focus on that positive versus letting it be distracted by all the negative. Something that works for me. I don't know if it worked for others, but, and just visualizations, I guess that's part of it, is visualizing good things and trying to put that out there into the world.
Yeah, for me, this has always been a really tough one for me because I was kind of trained this way as I grew up, and so even now, it's still really difficult for me. The only thing that I really try to do is just always try to focus on something that's now, like just every time I feel my brain drifting, 3 weeks down the road or a month or whatever it is, that it's like, no, it's like, get back here, like just focus and try to focus on what's going on now. And it's difficult, it's definitely been a hard fight for me. I've gotten a lot better about it because it was the reason, well, again, as we've said on here, the reason that I never saw small wins was because of this thing. Because I was always afraid to take a second and celebrate or be happy that whatever happened, because it's like, basically like I was just saying, it's almost like, well, if I acknowledge it, then the bad stuff will happen, basically, so it's, it's weird because it's a form of distorted thinking, but it also feels more like it's superstition than anything, because it really does. Yeah. It's almost like, I don't want to jinx it, like that kind of thing, So, yeah, like I said, this one's a tough one for me. I'm still fighting this one quite a bit.
How about you, Hen? Do you have any tricks or tips you use?
I think it's a lot of just the idea of from Buddhist philosophy that nothing's permanent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then I apply that to the good and to the bad. And I see that as like kind of just like it's almost like, if I can, obviously I'm willing to let go and move on from bad things. Mm-hmm. Why would I expect any more or less of good things? Mm-hmm. And it's a very, it seems like a practical approach, but it's really not. Mm-hmm. It's not easy.
Yeah.
To look at life that way. But that's,
no one likes to watch flowers die.
No.
Like, it's going to happen. They're nice. They look great. They smell nice, whatever. But that they're not going to last. So, don't get too attached to them. But,
Yeah. And a lot of, and then it comes back down to just the moments of just, appreciate these things in that moment. And again, that includes the bad things. Mm-hmm. That's where you get to have those things. Oh, wow, growth opportunity, yay! But that's the only way that I can approach them from the same standpoint. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think that's just been like a slow lesson in the last 10 years of my life. Mm-hmm. And it's something I mentioned last week too about the idea of don't demand too much.
Yeah.
Of like I don't in my relationship we don't demand too much of the relationship, and I also don't demand too much of when good things happen. I don't put expectations on them either. But at the same time, I don't dismiss them like this.
Yeah.
And I think that's key. I think a lot of this attitude or mindset is a direct consequence of putting too much expectation on good events.
Yeah.
And then having them not turn out well. And so eventually, like you said, it becomes a habit. Mm-hmm. and even a superstition.
I would think also to help something that would probably help people with this if you're, struggling with it and trying to figure something out, would be gratitude exercises that we've talked about before. Do a gratitude list, or like I used to do, I've mentioned on here before, where I would force myself to write down one good thing that happened to me that day. Like write a win down basically. Or like Tim Ferriss said he does, where he writes down different moments like that and he puts them in a jar so that when he's having a rough day, he can just pull things out of that and kind of remember good things that have happened to him, whatever like that. And those are just real simple things that, cause the other stuff like we're talking about is kind of like you said, Henno, that's long work, and you can't generally just boom and do that, it's
exactly,
so it's, that might be a good place for people to start, gratitude lists and those kind of things. Or this is also probably where meditation can really help too, to kind of bring you back to here, not worrying about down the road, but just centering yourself again. And like you said, being in the moment.
So number 2 is, I don't deserve this. It's hard to celebrate your success when you feel unworthy of your achievement. That like, being afraid of your boss overestimating your abilities when you get a promotion, but thinking you don't deserve to be happy will certainly prevent you from embracing joy.
Yeah.
Sometimes the toughest thing to say is thank you. Just sit there and just let it be and accept it and just say thank you.
Yeah, to have faith in somebody else's decision about us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's tough. Yeah.
And
it is.
Take them at their word.
Yeah.
That they think I'm qualified.
Yeah.
What are you, insane?
Right. Or, in like relationships or whatever, it's like, especially if you're someone who has low self-esteem or whatever, and it's like, well, why do they, why me, kind of a thing or whatever.
Yeah. Feels too good to be true.
Yeah. And you can't let yourself enjoy what you've got right there because you're constantly questioning like their judgment, because your self-esteem is low or whatever it is at the time,
When I got engaged, I'll never forget this, because when I got engaged, after the initial shock and, calling the parents and everything was over, and we're sitting outside by the campfire, I turned to my now husband and said, "Are you sure? Are you really sure?"
Mm-hmm.
And he started laughing, and he's like, "Well, I can take it back." I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I just want to make sure that you really want to be with me for the rest of your life. And he just laughed. He's like, I can take it back if you don't want it. I'm like, no.
Yep.
It was so hard for me to wrap my mind around that concept that somebody chose me.
Yeah.
To be that person in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me quite a bit of processing to be able to accept that.
Mm-hmm.
And I even had a bit of a breakdown before we got married, where thankfully he was at work, so I was able to kind of process through it with my friend. But the whole idea of being worthy of being a wife.
Yeah.
Really tough concept for me to get my head around.
Yeah, I think one of the things, I've had really, wonderful friends and mentors in my life who've reminded me that, you have put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And most of the time it is true. It's just a matter of if I can remind myself of that.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we're always feeling like I haven't put in enough work, or I haven't, or something. And I think it's always been a good reminder for me to actually look. It's like, okay, have you worked towards this? Have you put in effort towards this? Have you made changes in your life? Have you opened yourself for these opportunities to walk into your life?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is yes, I have, then yes, I do deserve this.
Yeah.
But that even saying that, like that I deserve something I don't like.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes something I need to say to myself, because if I put work into something, then
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you do. You do deserve it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like to put expectations on my work. However,
right. Well, you know, it's interesting too on this one. I actually think you can flip this one too, and not just look at things that you're like, oh, you don't think you're good enough or blah blah blah. But when something doesn't go your way, and you feel like I got promoted one time, and then I was told a couple days later that wasn't so much going to happen. And, you know, this is the kind of thought that went through my head is like, I don't deserve this. I'm busting my hump in here. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And it's like Henna was just saying, I put all those expectations on, and yeah, I was doing what was, you know, what I'm supposed to be doing. I was doing my job, and I felt as though that I deserved that promotion, you know, and as a result, it made me miserable for a while, and I've gone through it a few times, very similar things, and, you know, it's hard to deal with, but while I was miserable because I feel like I don't deserve being passed over, I can't be happy with, Jen's mentioned this, where she has tried to get a different position in a company, and she doesn't get it, you know, and then she looks at it afterwards and goes, you know what, I don't think that was a good fit for me. You know, and it's like that when you hit that point, that's when you finally are kind of flushing the other away of I didn't deserve to get passed over, basically. So I think that's something to keep in perspective too, because it's really easy to kind of become a whiny baby when something like that happens. And again, I'm putting myself right in there. I'm not judging anybody else any harder than I am myself. But that's really what it is you're throwing a tantrum. You know, and you're basically going, it's not fair. You know?
You know what? Give yourself that. Give yourself those 5-10 minutes of, it's not fair. This is not, you know, I deserve more than this. I deserve better than this. Give yourself into that. Let yourself have it. You own that. That's okay.
Well, and as we talk about growth opportunities too, that's a perfect time for one. Why didn't they choose me?
Yes.
You know, and that's what I did when I got passed over, is I would go, what do I have to do that I wasn't doing? You know, and sometimes you're not going to like the answer. Sometimes it's something you can't do, you know, or just sometimes it's just because somebody's just more qualified. That's it, you know.
Yeah.
You know what? It's true. That sometimes it's
maybe they've just been doing the job 5 years longer than you, and that's it. And it's like, well, you can't just all of a sudden have 5 more years experience, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a good whiskey. You just got to earn it, you know?
It also just reminds me of something that, you know, a friend of mine would always remind me about is, you know, stay out of the outcomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's good or bad, stay out of the outcome.
Mm.
Yep.
Just be, you know, you be in the moment. You know, don't try to control it. Don't try to control the outcomes. Accept what comes to you, whether it's good or bad. Don't question it. And again, it's like if you apply it to both sides, it will make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which leads to number 3, which is this won't last.
There you go. You called it, Anno.
The more you have, the more you have to lose. So whether you're worried your financial luck is about to run out or you think your business success is waning, assuming your good fortune can't possibly last will make you worry so much about the future that you can't enjoy the present. And it can turn dreams into nightmares.
Well, there's the saying, there's this too shall pass. And
boy, that's a great contrast.
And it's everything, the good and the bad. This too shall pass.
Too shall pass.
Yeah.
Yep. It goes.
All right. So, but then it's your choice of whether, well, in either case, it's your choice whether you want to dwell on it.
Right.
Yeah. Just live in the moment, enjoy what you have right now, and understand that it's not going to last, and that's okay. And just be cautiously aware of what's around the corner, but don't spend your time staring at the corner. You just gotta keep going on your path.
This is another one that I've had a hard time with over the years. Is that anytime I feel like something is going really well, I'm always, much like the one from a couple points ago or whatever. It's like I'm looking for that bad thing to happen. because the way my head works was it's got to balance out, you know, and it doesn't. You know, that's why for a long time I would talk, you know, I kind of bought into the whole karma thing and stuff, but it's like the older I get, the more I realize that it's constantly shown to us that karma rarely exists, you know. Yeah. Like once in a while you'll see someone get something, you know, kind of the counter of whatever it was or what they put out there they get back. But so many times you'll see somebody just be a jerk for so long and never comes back to them. You know, or it never really seems to, or they're just a super nice person and they end up with like 15 types of cancer, or, you know, and it's hard to justify those things. And that's the way my head would always be was, you know, like, okay, this is going good, but it's not going to last. You know, it's like, so I have to prepare myself for the worst or the bad thing that's going to happen. And like this says, you're not in the moment at all. You're worrying about the future, so you're not present, and you completely miss that, you know, you could have enjoyed life, you know, for, you know, even if it was a short term, even if it's for a day, you know, like you just miss it because you're like, oh, well, tomorrow's going to suck, you know, or whatever. Like I can't enjoy Sunday because Mondays that come in, you know, like that kind of a thing. And it was really hard for me to push past this one. And again, the work that I've been doing trying to stay here has really helped with this one and the other one, you know. Because like Heno said, you know, stay out of the outcomes. That's really what I'm trying to not do is I'm not trying to drag the past into the future or present or whatever. I'm trying to just, you know, I read something a little while ago today that talks about how there's the way you want things to be, the way things are, and the way things could be. And when you realize that you're in the way things are, even if they're not the way you wanted them to be, that you can't pull that, you know, you can't pull that to now. Yeah. Like, you know, you just have to deal with what the hand you're dealt, you know.
Whenever push comes to shove, and I really get stuck in my head and have a hard time dealing with things, I always stop and I think about the public figures, and particularly football. And I always go to the NFL and being that quarterback or that running back on the field that makes a huge mistake. And the world is watching. And they have, not only is everybody seeing you make the mistake, then for the rest of the following week, they're going to analyze your mistake. And you're going to have hate mail, and you're going to have, so you made one mistake, and it's on such an epic level of you know, attention that you can't escape it. It's almost impossible to escape from it. And then I stop and I think about it, and I'm like, okay, I'm having a rough time right now, but at least the world is not seeing it, or, you know, they're seeing what I want them to see of it. So I can handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the one thing that when I moved here, I always had that feeling of that, you know, the rug was going to get pulled out from under me. And that was one of the things that was neat about my life changing as far as sobriety was it made me realize that, no, I was here for a reason. And sometimes if you can just find something like that, and I try to do that when something really good happens in my life and I get that fear of that it's not going to last, is I go, well, I remind myself that you know, if I'm willing to look for the reason, I'll find the reason why this happened, regardless of how long it lasts. And that reason will make it all worthwhile, regardless of how long, whether the good fortune lasts for a long time or a little time. Yeah. If I can find something that you know that gives it kind of purpose, then I can get out of that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's see. Number 4, it's not as good as I expected. Thinking that you'll have more friends when you lose weight, or expecting that people will respect you when you get a promotion, can lead to disappointment. Reaching a goal might not necessarily solve the problems you wanted to fix. Unrealistic expectations about how good you'll feel when something good happens can lead to unhappiness. It's important to enjoy your success while also recognizing that positive events won't cure everything. And that's this is ultimate. That just reminds me of what my friend Rob says. It's an inside job.
Yeah. This reminded me of the, like when people feel like if they move, life will get better, you know,
Yep.
and they don't realize you just,
geographic.
all it is taking your problems to a different location, you know, it's,
location.
don't get me wrong. There are some situations
Sometimes.
where yes, it will, but you know, generally it's, you know, like therapists will tell you all the time. It's like, it's, you still got to deal with the
Can't
problem.
run.
Yeah, exactly, Jen. Yeah, you can't run from it. You got to face it. It's.
Yep. But even at first, it will get past it. So if you get on, if you can buckle the seatbelt and you can sit in there and just power through it, you will get to the other side, positives and the negatives.
And the thing is that a lot of this is, for me, I grew up always living in a fantasy world. I was always in my head, and I was always future casting.
Me too.
Yeah.
And to me, it's part of my alcoholism. It's part of, you know, that I was never comfortable in my own skin, and I was never comfortable in the moment I was supposed to be living in. I always saw myself somewhere else. And so I created, like, okay, well, when I get that, this is what it's going to be like. And then when it happened, it was like, okay, it's not like I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, I'm finally at the party. Why doesn't the party look like how I thought it was going to be in my head?
Right.
You know, and that was that whole thing. You know, one of the I think it was a book, and they talked about the fact that our entire lives we are constantly looking forward into the future. From the time we're children, we're immediately looking at, you know, by the time I'm this age, you know, like, okay, you know, this age, I'll get into high school. When I'm 16, I get to drive. When I'm 18, you know, I graduate. When I'm 21, I can drink. And you're always looking in the future. You know, when I finally get married, when I finally have kids, when this, and this, and that we're practically, you know, we're trained into not living in the moment. We're trained to be constantly looking ahead. And you know, making plans that really aren't going to happen. You know, I mean, yeah, I'm going to turn 16. That doesn't mean there's going to be a car,
right? Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Well, or like me, it's you know, growing up, I was at 16. I'm going to drive. I got to 16. I'd been in a bunch of car accidents, and I wanted nothing to do with driving. You know, but you know, and that, and I even now I still carry that you know, how that was, for a long time I saw it as a failure, you know, because you're supposed to, you know, everybody else got their license, you know, like that kind of a thing. And it, you know, I finally got over that after a while, but it took a while, you know, before I did. And a lot of that too has to do with the fact that everybody gives you, you know, guff about it, you know, like, it's, you don't have your license, you know, so that doesn't help.
No.
But, you know, it's, you're right, though. It's like when you plan out like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with planning, but like I was saying a minute ago, it's like you have to realize at some point, it's like, okay, well, I'm 16. The way the hand was dealt to me, this is not something I want to do anymore. You know, my goal has changed, and that's fine. You know, and because otherwise, like what I first thought when you read this one off is it reminds me of like when people like they win the lottery or they get a bunch of money, because they're always like, well, if I had money, I could, you know, I'd be this. And then they get it, and it's like, either you want more of something, or, you know, it's like, it's just never enough when you're constantly just trying to expect more and more, you know, and you're just chasing. You can't, like this, and that's the point of this whole thing, basically, is that you're, you know, chasing happiness, and, you know, you're doing it the wrong way here.
Yeah, you're looking to come from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even if it originated on the inside, it's like, you know, it's expecting you're out. You know, it's like that whole idea of comparing your insides to other people's outsides.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also comparing our insides to our own expectations of the outsides or our fantasies or our dreams and that kind of thing. And
yeah. Well, look at how many people
that
want to be married growing up and then they end up in marriages that they're really not happy in. You know, it's like, it's a really common thing. Or I want to do this for a living, and then they get into it and they're like, wow, this is no. You know, like this is not what I want to do anymore.
Well, to use the car example, I mean, my friend Aquila, his dad was like this. It'd be like, okay, I'm 16. I get to drive now. Well, why haven't you been working the last few years? Where do you think a car is going to come from? That's what Mark would say. That's what his dad would say. It would be like, well, then I didn't see you doing a paper route for the last 2 years. Yeah. Where did you think a car was going to come from? Did you think it was just going to materialize? No, and he would then say, "There's nothing wrong with visions.
Mm-hmm.
It's what in dreams. That's what leads us to achieve. That's what gives us the motivation to work towards a goal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just think it's just going to happen, and that there's no legwork involved, well, you might have some more disappointment in life. And I always respected Mark in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his kids would be like, you know, I'm so excited to look at this thing, you know, this new video game console, whatever, blah blah blah, and he's just like, well, you obviously don't want it. And they're like you know, Quill and his sister are like, what do you mean we don't want it? And he's like, well, I don't see you getting a job and earning some money to go buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, what do you mean?
I was raised similarly, like any of that kind of stuff that I wanted, you know, my parents just didn't have it. To, you know, if I wanted the new Nintendo system or whatever, they didn't have a couple $100 just to go spend on that, you know. So if I wanted it, that's what I had to do: cut grass or sell baseball cards or whatever it was I was doing at the time. But and I did. I've bought, you know, I worked and bought that stuff, and I'm glad they did that because I have such an appreciation for what. I've always had an appreciation for things I have. You know, I end up taking better care of them because I know what it took to get it, you know. Mm-hmm. And most of the time you don't learn that until later, you know. So I've always liked that kind of mentality, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I've known people where as soon as they turn 16, their parents are like, here's a car, here's your insurance, blah, blah, blah. And the kids just don't care, you know, whereas, you know, my mom always told my siblings that it's like, you know, if you want a car, you got to work for it. You got to pay for it. Or if someone does happen to give you a car, you're still paying the insurance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not paying that for you. You're paying that. And again, it makes you appreciate what you're doing more because you know, you don't want to wreck something you know you have to replace. You know?
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually slides us right into the last one, which is all about it's not enough. If I just had a little bit more money, I could relax. If I just got to the next rung on the corporate ladder, I'd be successful. The it's not enough mentality will prevent you from savoring the moment. Mm-hmm. That's otherwise also known as the grass is always greener syndrome, or not happy with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
I was going through this in my head today again, and this is directly involved with me and my horrible spending habits and retail therapy. Is, you know, when I got done with that gig on Friday night, nobody cares how expensive my bass was.
Very true.
Accurate.
Nobody cares that it's cheap.
Yep.
Nobody in that audience that was singing along to the songs even noticed that I was playing through a PA system and not an actual bass amplifier.
Nope.
So why do I need more?
Right.
I don't.
Mm-hmm.
How much joy did I get on Friday night with exactly what I have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I think that's the same case with me as an individual, as a person, is that if I'm really willing to look around and take stock and be grateful, put together that gratitude list, you know, be in the moment and you know, really come to terms with the fact that everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be right now, that there is enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need more.
Mm-hmm. And I honestly think this right here is maybe one of the biggest things that is keeping people from being happy. Is that there's always that? Well, again, you want to be perfect. You don't want to be really good. Like that's just the way we're kind of wired. Until we can rewire ourselves or whatever. If we have money, it's never enough. We want more. You want a bigger house. You want more cars. You want that. It's like, at some point, it's like, well, why do you need that? And like you were saying, Henno, it's like you could play the most expensive bass on the market. You could have had the highest end amplifier, and the people in the crowd wouldn't have known any different, probably. Or if they would have, it would have been a slight difference. So it's like, why do you have to go blow all that money, put yourself in a bad way financially, for something no one else will notice? It's at some point you really got to evaluate that stuff,
Yeah.
So, yeah, this has been one for me though too. This is another one I've had issues with because I've always been, no matter how much money I have, I'm always like, it isn't enough. Like, because I catastrophize easily, so as a result, it was like, that's not enough money, well, what if this happens? That's not enough, so I have to keep, and even though, it's rooted in logic, in that, you want to make sure you have enough money to pay your bills, or if something does happen and you have to, not be able to work for a month or two, you want to be able to cover yourself. But at some point it's like, okay, you've got, you're okay. And you're still like, on edge because it's not enough, and it's like, no, actually you're good right now. Like you're okay,
Yeah. The grass is always greener syndrome. Anytime I suffer from it in some things in my, some things more in my life than others, but I know people that it consumes their entire life.
Yep.
And they're just never happy.
Mm-mm.
They're just never happy. They're never satisfied. They never seem to be, they're always chasing something.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they manage to achieve a lot, but I really question whether they're really finding, like they use the term joy. And, do you have joy in your life?
Yeah.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah. It's like, in the end of the day, accomplishing things is great, but you know what it's like, you see the people who like, will just work and work and work and work and work and work. And then, they'll want something, but they just won't go get it for themselves, kind of a thing. And it's like, well, what's the point of killing yourself working if you can't occasionally buy yourself something? Like, why are you accumulating all that money? Why are you taking on all that stress? What are you getting back from that? And whether it's retail therapy or, hey, I can pay my house off faster, or, whatever your reason is, it's like, I can't get over the people who just like seem to work and then just like hoard the money. 'Cause it's like, in my head, I'm going, well, why are you working? Like I said, it's just, most people are working because they have to. They have bills to pay,
That touches into the whole, I don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't deserve the good things. I haven't worked hard enough. I haven't saved enough. I haven't done enough to deserve the nicer things.
Mm-hmm. Or just even just the it's not enough thing, I'm, it's not enough money. I got to worry about retirement. I got to this and that, I've known people who've put away a ton of money for retirement and died at 50, just, right. You can't know that, And then there's other people who just blow it all and live to be like 120,
Yeah. The last paragraph here just says, if you caught yourself struggling to accept joy when something good happens, change your mindset. Take a deep breath and remind yourself that it's okay to be happy with what you have right now. And I think that's great, is to say, give yourself permission to enjoy.
Yeah.
Have what you have and to find abundance in what is directly around you. And she says, there's no need to postpone your happiness, celebrate your accomplishments, revel in joyful circumstances, and embrace bliss whenever you can.
Yep. Again, gratitude lists can really help with this kind of thing. And it's interesting, since we've been doing this podcast and I've been reading the various stuff I've been reading, I've gotten to where I don't like the it could be worse mentality as much as I used to, because I used to be like, well, this is how you keep perspective,
Yeah.
And then I heard, I'd heard it before, but it didn't ring in my head until I was listening to Tell 'em Steve Dave, when Brian Johnson, the one time someone was like, well, it could be worse because he suffers from depression and whatnot. And they said, well, it could be worse. And he goes, yeah, but that doesn't mean it doesn't suck. He's like, that doesn't mean what I'm dealing with isn't difficult. Yeah. And as we've said on here before, it's like, Heno's problems may seem like something simple to me, but to him, it's the hardest thing in the world to deal with. And it's not fair of me. Yeah, it's not fair of me to minimize whatever he's dealing with. And, so, but the, it could be worse mentality, I think, can help here with changing the mindset. Because when it's not enough, it's not this, it's not that. It's like, look, go to your refrigerator right now. Anyone listening, do you have a Brita filter, pitcher, whatever, those kind of things? Or do you have bottled water in your refrigerator? First of all, do you have a refrigerator? But it's like, do you have the ability to not only have tap water that in most places you can drink that's fairly clean, but you can go buy different water because you don't like the taste or you don't like this. You don't simply have to drink it because it's the only mud puddle you found. So, in those kind of scenarios, you can say, like I said, I think this is the scenario where it's perfect because it really can help you, really go, it's the first world problems concept,
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, when we all get mad at our pocket computers, and there's people who don't even have indoor plumbing, it's,
Well, it's putting perspective on things.
Yeah.
It's breaking it down and putting things into perspective. It's like when you are really stuck and you can't see past your own nose, take those moments to take a look around, talk to somebody else, get their perspective on it. But just try to break through and try to get some perspective from a different angle and looking in on it. And you'll find that most of the time things aren't as bad as they seem.
Yeah. It's funny though how you'll find that the more that you learn about distorted thinking and whatnot, you realize just how much things are rarely as ever as blank as they seem. People never truly care about your flaws as much as you think they will. People don't get, there's all these things that it's us putting that on ourselves or onto others, kind of a thing, so many more times than it's the actual truth,
True.
Well, I think that's pretty good, guys. What do you think?
Good chat.
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right. Well, folks, you know the drill. If you want to continue the conversation with us, you can reach us at thecrazylife.weebly.com is our website. The Crazy Life Podcast at outlook.com is our email address. You can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G, or Dits with the Tits. If you want to contact me, either one, feel free to contact me. And Heno, how can they reach you?
Find me on Twitter at Ida Heno, and find me on Facebook at Heno Hyder, and you can message me there, or Instagram, or yada yada, the social media that I only used for an hour a day today.
Right. Way to go. Actually, both of you should plug your other podcasts too.
Well, I have another one, Shake the Sheets, and it records on Tuesdays, usually drops on Fridays. It's an adult news and entertainment podcast, so feel free to check us out. How about you, Hannah?
And I do Gotham Lights, sometimes also called the Orville Lights, that is dedicated to those two television shows. But right now we're on break, so we are going to be reviewing our second in the series of our erotic novels this week by M.F. Jones.
Yeah.
Thor, M.F. Jones.
Nice.
So
or
check it out.
Or a perfect time to catch up on, the previous episodes.
Yep.
Exactly. That too.
Yeah. Let's see. You can find the show on Twitter also at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find the other podcast I'm part of, Salty Language, at salty_language, or at saltylanguage.com. Show is very not safe for work, and good luck catching up on the back issue or episodes of that. As there is 373. Yeah. Oh, there's people who have. It's just that's
a lot of hours.
Yeah, that really is. That is literally the podcast equivalent in my head of like Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, where he just keeps walking. It's just that. It's just that's a long trek.
But I guarantee you, if you listen to that many, you'll know Brian and Tony.
Yeah, true. That is true. You will.
They tell you everything, so you will learn to know who they are.
Quite a bit. There's very little that we don't, especially if it's something that makes us laugh, we share it.
And may God have mercy on your soul.
Right? You can also find this show on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. So come join our group. Or don't, whatever. We're part of the Tangent-Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So go check that out, see if there's any other shows you may enjoy over there. We would appreciate it if you would rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't already. No matter how you get our podcast, through Apple or Google Play or whatever it is. Or if the app you use has, like or share options, please share our episodes with your friends, or share our Facebook or Twitter posts with anyone you think might get something from the show. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you have something you'd like us to talk about on the show, please send us an email or hit one of us up on Twitter and suggest it to us. Or if you have something you'd like to come on here and talk about, we're also open to that idea. Just let us know. Again, Jen we gave you the links already for that. So with that, I guess if you need help, please reach out. We can't stress it enough. I know it's so difficult to do. It took me a long, long time to do it. So don't be dumb like me. Reach out. Also, on the other side of it, reach out to somebody that you haven't talked to for a long time, or if there's someone that's going through or recently gone through, something rough, check on them, make sure they're doing okay. But also check on your friends that always tell you everything's okay. The ones that always only post the best things and they're, oh yeah, my life's great. Make sure they're doing okay too. 'Cause, as we've talked on here before, a lot of times that's, it's all a throne of lies. So, but seriously, reach out to somebody, 'cause first of all, if nothing else, there's just enough hate on the internet. Let's just be above that. And, also, you never know, you make somebody's day or you may save their life. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And just like Brian just mentioned, be nice, folks. Sometimes it's harder to be nice than it is to be mean, but be the bigger person. Be nice. And if you can't be nice, walk away. It's not worth it.
Yeah, if you can't be nice, be quiet. That's
yep.
Like I was told.
Just walk away from the situation. Yeah. Because ultimately, especially when we're dealing with social media, there is another person on the other end of that. And you don't know where they're at. You don't know what's going on in their lives. You don't know what their motivation is. And it doesn't pay to feel bad. You'll feel bad. They'll feel bad. It's not worth it. Bring positivity and happiness. It's a much better feeling. So with that, folks, go out and have a great week.